Element 1. Element 2. Element 3. Element 4.
Be advised.
Element 5. Element 6.
Incoming transmission. Download complete.
Your trajectory is either affected or infected by the people you allow around you. Let's just say that to each other tonight. Let's just do something different tonight. Just turn, let's just say to the person on your right. If you don't have one, make one up. Just say, your trajectory is determined. Hold on. Back up. Let's start over. Your trajectory is either affected or infected by the people you allow around you. All right. We are off to a great start. All right, that's good. Awesome. All right. Let's get right into it. I got to be honest with you. I hate to say this tonight, but it's the truth. Statistically speaking, from right here over, statistically speaking, every one of you that get married will one day get a divorce. Statistically speaking, 1 in 2 marriages end in divorce. So that's half the room. So that's about from right here over. Can I tell you why? Can I give you a glimpse into a pretty good observation why that's going to happen? Because one day in the future, when you're married and your marriage starts to get in trouble, you will not ask for help. You will try to do it on your own. And some of you will face thoughts where you go, I'm just bored. I'm bored with my wife, I'm bored with my husband, and so instead of seeking wise counsel and saying, hey, what do you have to say about this? I'm not entertained anymore. I'm losing the connection with my wife or with my husband. What should I do about this? Instead of seeking that advice, you will go on your own and say, well, everyone else is doing it. Everyone else gets bored, so it must be okay, so I am going to file for divorce. Or others of you, you will be a business person, you travel a lot, you're moving around, or maybe your wife or your husband travels a lot, and that thought's going to come across because you're getting lonely, or you're getting frustrated, or he forgot to take out the trash, or she did this to you, and you're agitated, everything's going wrong, and you go, in this moment, it feels right that I should go and have an affair. And in that moment, when you have that thought, instead of seeking wise counsel and saying, hey, pastor, what would you do? Hey, good friend, what would you do? Hey, dad, mom, what should I do in this moment? Because I'm having this feeling, I think I'm having an affair. It sounds good. It even looks good. It sounds like the right thing to do right now. Tell me what I should do. And instead of seeking that advice, you will make that decision on your own. And you'll end up in trouble. There's many other reasons and many other excuses, and I want you to hear me that friendship is not the only reason that people, not having friends isn't the only reason they get divorced, but I can promise you that it is a really good indication. Because many people in this world will try to go through life alone. Now, some of you go, wait a minute, Chad. I have a lot of friends. Look at my Facebook. I got 2,000, right? Or 500 or 200, it's all good either way. Even if you have 50, it's okay. 50 is kind of low. You should get to 100 and then you'll be good. But you got all these friends on Facebook. And so you send pictures to each other, you Instagram, you Twitter, you YouTube, you Pinterest. I don't even know what that is, but whatever. You do all these different things. And so you go, I'm connected because there's a ton of people around me. And the reality is you are connected, but they're not friends. Yeah, you know a picture they took. Yeah, you know a status they posted. Yeah, you know a little bit about what they're willing to share with you, but they're not really your friend because you don't know the details, nor do they know the details about you. I read a little post, a little research. It said that in this day and age, we are more connected now than we have ever been in history. Yet in human society, we are lonelier now than we have ever been before. And you go, how is that even possible? How is it even possible? I'll tell you why. It's because we have this illusion that connections or acquaintances are friends. And it puts us in a jam. Or others of you, maybe you do have friends that are more than acquaintances. They're more than a connection on Facebook. But the truth is, they simply just are not a positive influence in your life. They simply just do not point you in the right direction. When I was growing up, and I was in high school, my senior year, I experienced the first death in kind of my sphere. You know, everyone kind of has a circle of influence. And so this was the first time I had experienced the death of anyone that I knew or was related to or whatever. And it was my best friend Jason's mom. She had died of breast cancer. And I remember we went to the hospital multiple nights. It was the end of senior year, so it was the middle of finals. And we were going every night. We were trying to study and then go see him and go see her. And then we'd go back and study. And it was just this terrible picture watching her go. It was just a horrendous experience. And it was my first. And so I remember when she finally passed away, me and my buddies got together and we go, hey, what do we do? Like, what are we going to do? We got to encourage Jason. Like, he needs some love. He needs some encouragement. What do we do? We don't know. And so we go, well, let's do the only thing we know how to do. We'll go to the bar and we'll pay. That's how we're going to help. And so we took him out and we all got drunk and we all forgot about the moment and it was completely erased until the next morning. And we did that night after night after night until we felt that maybe he was better. Why? Now, did we have good intentions? Absolutely. Were we trying to do the right thing? Absolutely. But we were completely doing the wrong thing, and even worse, we were pushing him down a path that made the situation even worse. Some of you have friends, some of you have more than connections, but the reality is those friends simply just don't have a positive influence in your life. Can I just plead with you tonight? Can I just tell you, if you get nothing else out of tonight, what we want you to understand is that you need friends. You need friends. And God created it this way. Some of you are kind of the Lone Ranger. God, I don't need friends. People are sinful. They make mistakes. They let me down. Especially girls, they're always let me down. They're always gossiping behind my back. All these different things that happen. It's like, I can't stand it. So it's just going to be me and God. Me and the Holy One. That's all I need. The world can just go away because I've got Him. He's got me. And we're a family. It's going to be awesome. Can I tell you something? God had a problem with this theory. God had a problem with this theory. Back in the Garden of Eden, back in the beginning, He put together the earth and He put together the stars and the moons in no particular order that I'm telling you. He just put all these things together, all these creations, all these magical things, these unbelievable things. He put all the stars up in the sky, the thousands of billions, I don't even know, billions upon billions. He created all of this, and then He created man, and He plopped down Adam, and I don't know if he looks good, but He plopped him down, and then He looks at all this, and He looks at Adam, and He goes, this isn't good. And you go, how's that possible, right? God's perfect. Like, He creates everything and it's majestic. And how is this not perfect? But God knew in the midst of His creation, before there was ever sin, in the midst of perfection, He looked down on man alone and said, this is not good. So if you're that person that says, well, I got God and He's got me and that's all we need, the world can all get away, He had a problem with that theory. And we should too. So tonight what I want to do, I think a lot of times we try to pursue like what kind of friend I need, right? I need this and he or she needs to have this and all these qualities. And I think that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But tonight what I want to do is I want to show us what we need to do. I want to show us how we need to be that godly friend. Because what's going to happen as we look at what we need to do, we will begin to realize what it is that we need in a friend. Because before we continue in this generational debacle that we in, this entitlement era that we have come into where everything just has to be ours and we deserve everything without any work, any effort. I know that's not none of y'all, but that's what everyone else is doing. I don't want to play into that. I want us to pursue this as what can I bring to the table, and then as we discover what we can bring, we'll discover what we need. Here we go. I want to do this tonight. If you have a Bible, you can open to 1 Samuel. That's where we're going to be. I want to do this by looking at Jonathan and David. Anyone familiar with Jonathan and David? Yeah, that's cool. All right, 1. Sweet. Lots to learn tonight. Good. We're going to move quickly. We're going to learn from Jonathan and David. Really what we're going to do is look at the life of Jonathan and look at the friend that Jonathan was to David, and that's what we're going to learn from. Now, I've got to warn you really quick, all right? How many people make me feel really good right now? How many people, when you leave underground or tonight's your first night, so when you leave, you're going to go home and you're going to open up your Bible and you're going to start studying what I said, and you're going to just go like, he was wrong or he was right, and wow, this is crazy, and you're going to take notes, and just raise your hand and tell me like that's what you're going to do. All right. No, okay. In the process of that, which hopefully all of you are going to do tonight, some of you are going to kind of take the easy road, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this. There is, but I'm just not going to say it. You're going to take the easy road, and so instead of opening your Bible or opening a commentary or opening up your notes because you don't want to take notes because you're on your phone, pretend like you take notes, but you're texting, you're going to get on your computer and you're going to go, he talked about Jonathan and David. Let's look it up. Google, and you're going to type in Google, Jonathan and David. Psh, teach me. That's what you do when you hit Google, by the way. But I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, and this is a little serious, and I want to just give you a heads up. When you do that, you're going to pull up a lot of things that are going to sound a bit confusing. Because a lot of people would like to argue that looking at Scripture tells us that Jonathan and David not only had a friendship, they not only had a bond, they not only had a very intimate relationship, but they were actually lovers. So I don't want to confuse you tonight. I don't want you to open that up and go, he didn't talk about this. Was he lying to us? What's going on? Because the reality is there's a lot of people that argue that. And I don't want to take time tonight to go into that, but I would encourage you, if you run across that or you have an issue with that, you need to research it. Because the reality is when you start to look at history and you start to look at the generation and the culture that they lived in, you will very quickly see that it was not even close to any kind of homosexual relationship. But I think that I would miss it tonight if I didn't just lay that in front of you. And you go, well, where does all that come from? Well, the reality is it comes from our world because we sexualize everything. Did you know that? If you didn't know that, now you do, okay? You just learned something really important tonight. Our world sexualizes everything, even butter, okay? Butter commercials now are sexualized. I mean, I don't even get it. Oatmeal, Uncle Tom's. I mean, they're stretching it, all right? I don't know what oatmeal and girls that are half naked have anything to do with it. I don't know. Don't go try to find it. Just trust me. But our world finds a way to sexualize everything. Do we want to debate that? Good. I was sure hoping you wouldn't. So I would have made it long. So that's where it all comes from. But I encourage you. The other thing, I'll just talk about. The other thing is the kiss, and it's going to say a part where they kiss, and you're going to go, oh, they kiss, they really kiss. I don't kiss guys, all right? Frank's one of my best friends. I don't kiss him, all right? I'm just telling you. But in that day and age, in that culture, a kiss was a sign of intimacy. A kiss was a very sacred moment, and it was shared between two men. Now, we're not necessarily talking about kissing on the lips, all right? But if you want to look at this in history, you can go back to when Judas betrayed Jesus. It said that Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss. It's an intimate gesture. And so before you freak out and go, oh, this is crazy, just remember the world we live in. We find a way to sexualize everything, and it's crazy. Okay, I said it. We're done. Let's move on. 5 ways we can be effective friends. 5 ways. Number 1. The number 1 way is to have common, let me rephrase this. Okay, this isn't 5 ways. This is 5 characteristics. 5 characteristics of an effective friend. I wrote it down on my paper, and I said it, and just didn't make sense when I said it, so I'm correcting it, okay? 5 characteristics of an effective friend. Number 1 is commonality. Commonality. When Jonathan and David come on the scene, they don't come in as these weak men. They come in as warriors. We see David. Y'all remember David and Goliath? Anybody? All right. We're getting somewhere. All right. So David and Goliath, man, David's on a cheese run of all things. Right? He's just cruising out. He goes to see his brothers, and his dad sends him to give him some cheese, and he walks in, and he goes, hey, who's that big guy over there? And all the soldiers are scared, hiding behind rocks and freaking out, and they're like, oh, he's killing everybody. We don't want anything to do with him. And he goes, this isn't cool. And so he looks up at God, and he goes, this is my people. I'm your soldier. I'm your servant. I've killed tons of bears. Let's do this. And so he walks out with a slingshot, and he just takes him out. All right, so this little guy, David, he is a warrior. He comes on the scene as a man with a plan. And then Jonathan, in a similar stance, doesn't take down Goliath, but he comes into the scene, and all his people are scared. They're freaking out. He looks at God. He goes, I'm your soldier. I'm your servant. What do you want me to do? And he comes into this place, and he says, who wants some? And he takes out a whole garrison by himself. And so Jonathan and David don't come in as weak guys. They weren't like lonely going, I need a friend. Come meet me. David, let's be friends. It wasn't like that. These guys are soldiers. They were warriors. But they had commonality. You know what the commonality was? It wasn't a warrior. It was a pursuit of God. Man, when David came onto the scene and Jonathan saw David, he said, that guy is pursuing God. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of guy that I want to be around. They shared commonality, and that commonality was a pursuit of God. Now, let me be honest with you. A lot of us with our friends, we share commonality, right? How many people like tennis in here? Raise your hand. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. How many people like sports? Yeah. How many people like the Texans? Boom. We share commonality right there. Boom. We're all friends, right? Homies. That's right. Okay? How many people like Pinterest? And all the guys said, woo, where's Coulter? Just kidding. All right. Just kidding, dude. Sorry. The reality is, though, a lot of our friendships, they're based on commonality, right? We find something that we like and we go, man, you like tennis, I like tennis, let's pursue this together. And I'm going to beat you down, but we'll do it together because we're friends, let's go. And so a relationship most of the time is based on commonality, and that's a good thing. But let me tell you something. Commonalities fade, don't they? Eventually, you will get too old where you can't swing the tennis racket anymore. And you're going to look at each other and go, man, it was great, but we got nothing in common now. I can't beat you. I'm out. Or Pinterest is going to fall asleep because that's what they all do, and a new one's going to come out, and who knows what's going to be next. It's going to be crazy. Invent it, and you'll make a lot of money. But the reality is it's going to fade away eventually, right? And so what happens is a lot of our relationships as we get older, they start to fade away too. Or our stage of life changes. And we were single, we could go out, we could do whatever we want, but then we get married and it's like, oh, I can't go anywhere. Just kidding, babe. Or then we have kids, right? Frank and Megan, man, they used to go out all the time. We're out till like 2 in the morning. Now it's like 8 o'clock. We're in bed. Sorry, don't call, please. We're going to kill you. Just kidding, right? But our stage of life, it begins to change, and so our commonalities begin to change. And when our commonalities begin to change, the relationships begin to change, and a lot of times they just dissipate. So you go, well, where are you going? Well, where I'm going is this. A good, godly friendship that's going to last, that a single person and a married guy could stay friends forever, is a commonality that's based on a pursuit of God. It's based on a pursuit of God. And so if you're going, what do I need to look for in this godly friend? What do I need to be this godly friend? You need to pursue God first and foremost. Can I tell you what else happens real quick with a commonality based on the pursuit of God? We come into the equation, or we come into the relationship understanding that we are imperfect. If you're pursuing God, then hopefully, Lord willing, you understand the gospel. And so therefore, if your relationship is based on God, your relationship is based on the gospel. So if your relationship is based on the gospel, it's based on the fact that every single one of us are sinners and imperfect people. And so you're not confused when I come in and realize that I have a lot of baggage. Or when I slip up, or I mess up, or I fall short, you don't look at me and go, oh, dude, get rid of him, he's the loser. No, you go, that's what I'm talking about, because I do that too. See, when we have commonality based on God, we forget all this fakeness. We don't worry about saying the right thing or being the right person or having to do just this so that they'll accept me as a friend. You come into the equation and say, I'm imperfect, you're imperfect. Man, let's be friends. Let's pursue this together, and we'll work out those imperfections as we move along. And ladies, if I could be honest with you, this is where you struggle the most. Because you come into these relationships and we forget that we're imperfect people. And guys, you do it too. We forget we're imperfect people. And you expect perfection from that person. And can I tell you something? They are never going to give it to you. But when we have a relationship that's based on the pursuit of God, and it's based on the pursuit of the gospel, we understand that we're imperfect, and we move through this thing together, and we push and we pull and we mend and we bend and we make each other better. That's what happens. Number 2, they're going to be faster than that from here on. Maybe. It's summertime. You're not going anywhere, right? Some of y'all are like, as soon as he looks away, I'm out. Number 2, loyalty. Number 2, loyalty. Read the passage again real quick. Samuel 18, 1-4. It says, after David had finished talking with Saul, this is King Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. From that day on, Saul kept David with him and wouldn't let him return home. And Jonathan made a solemn pact with David because he loved him as he loved himself. Jonathan sealed the pact by taking off his robe and giving it to David, together with his tunic, his sword, his bow, and his belt. In essence, what happened is they just made a sacred bond in that culture that was not looked at lightly. You remember back in the day, I think I was too young for this, but when you used to like spit on your hand, you'd be like, that was the bond, right? Or even worse, you used to slice your hand and you would share blood. Did anybody do that? Just crazy. All right, one. Yeah, do you still have a scar? Because that's wild. So I didn't mean to call you out, but it's all good. All right, but it's crazy. But what happened in this point in time is they made a solemn pact together. A bond that in human eyes should never be broken. Can I ask you something? Forget the bond. But do you have a friend like that? Do you have someone that you would be loyal to no matter what? And let me ask you the real question tonight. Are you the kind of friend that's loyal no matter what? Are you the kind of friend that says, when I came into this relationship, I am in it. I'm in it to stay through thick and thin, no matter what happens, I am in it. Are you that kind of friend? Do you have that kind of loyalty? Can I tell you something tonight that I think you need to hear? And I heard this from Ben Stewart over at Brickway, and it rocked my world. He says, you won't get the honor of people and the love of people until you take on the problems of people. You won't get the honor of people or the love of people until you take on the problems of people. Isn't that true? Loyalty says, I'm standing with you through thick and thin, no matter what. Proverbs 17:17 says, a friend is always loyal, and a brother is born to help in time of need. And some people think, well, a friend and a brother, so a brother's more important. It's using it as synonyms, so they're interchangeable. And the reality is, loyalty looks like this. When everyone's coming out, the friend is coming in. When everyone's ready to bail, when everyone's ready to say, whoop, I've had enough, the loyal friend comes in and says, I'm sitting down to stay. Let's work through this thing together. That's loyalty, isn't it? A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity, I guess if you want to put it that way, to walk with some friends of mine through probably the darkest hour in their life, and really one of the darkest experiences of mine. And I'm not going to go into detail of the situation, but I'm going to be honest with you. True loyalty is scary. And when that moment came, I want to tell you that I was ready to just hop up and run in there, and I'm here, let's do this. But when a real moment like this comes, when we as the friend are called to be loyal, it's real easy to get scared. And in that moment, when I should have jumped in, I was a bit timid. So I was walking into waters I've never walked into before. Walking into a situation that was really way bigger than I could ever be. And then I realized, and honestly I remembered, that that's when us as good friends, we don't try to walk in our own strength, but we look to Him, right? When our lives and our friendships are founded in God, we can say, hey, this situation truly is way above my head. Have you ever had that with a friend and you just go, I want to help, but I can't even comprehend what you're going through right now? That's when we look to Him and go, God, I can't do this, but you can, so give me the words and give me the strength. And we walk in His strength. Can I tell you something? He will deliver. Now, some of you need to walk in and just be quiet, and you just need to listen. Others of you need to walk in and you need to share some words of encouragement, maybe guide them, maybe move them in the right direction. But the reality is all of that comes from our walking in His strength and not in our own. And so in these moments of loyalty, there's going to be some times when you are just scared. And I want to encourage you that you would trust in the Lord and that you wouldn't back away, but that you would move in when everyone else is moving out. It's scary, but it's what the Lord's called us to do. The third thing tonight is honesty. We'll see in 1 Samuel 20. I'm not going to read it to you for time's sake, but Jonathan is going to take a risk, and he's going to warn David that his father is out to kill him. If you didn't catch the story when we read it, King Saul becomes very jealous of David. And he decides that he wants to kill him. And so Jonathan catches wind. He starts to kind of put some things together. He figures this out. And he says, man, I've got to go to my friend and I've got to tell him. In essence, what we take from this is Jonathan saw a blind spot in David's life. He saw a part of David's life that he couldn't see. David couldn't know that King Saul was ready to kill him, but Jonathan did. And Jonathan met to meet that need. Now you go, well, what does that have to do with us? Well, can I be honest with you? A lot of us have blind spots in our life that we just don't see. Some of us have temper problems. Some of us have cussing problems. Some of us just have a problem the way we treat people, but we don't quite grasp it right away. We don't always realize it. And a good friend comes in with honesty and says, hey, man, I love you. Hey, girl, I love you, but there's a blind spot here and we need to address it. We need to look at this. And I'm going to do it with you, but we need to do this. A good friend will come in with honesty. I was thinking about this the other day. Frank and Megan, Frank's our assistant director. Megan read the passage tonight. They're married. They have a baby, little Emma. She's like this big now. One day she's going to start walking soon. I don't know when, but soon. All right, I hope I'm there, but whatever. That's why we have videos. She's going to start walking one day, and then she's going to grow up some more, and they're going to start letting her play around. She's going to start going in the yard, and she's going to start like swinging from the tree and doing what, I don't know if they still do that these days. Everything's changed, but hopefully she'll get to go outside and play. And there's going to be a moment, I guarantee you, there's going to be a moment where Emma's going to be curious, and she's going to be walking around, and she's going to see that street like we all do. And it's going to look intriguing, isn't it? Because it did to you just like it did to me. We don't understand it, even though we see the squirrel that's smushed on the ground next to us. We can't put two and two together. Well, we look at that street and we see the cars passing and our eyes just light up and we go, I want that. I want to go there. And can I tell you something? There's going to be a moment where probably Frank's going to look out the window and he's going to see little Emma playing and he's going to go, there's Emma. She's walking toward the street. Man, the cars are coming. That's going to be bad. I hope it works out for you. And she's going to walk away. Right? So that's what a good parent does. That's what a good friend does. When they see a friend walking into danger, they look at it and go, man, I hope you make it, buddy. Have fun. Call me when it's over. That's what a good friend does. Right? No. A good friend comes in and looks and finds the blind spots. Says, hey, you don't quite get this yet. You don't quite see this, but because I love you, I want to bring some truth. Can I tell you something? It's going to raise some awkward moments. It's awkward when you call somebody out, isn't it? I'm going to preface this first. Don't go do this to everyone, okay? These are unique friends that you have a special bond with, okay? Don't walk with a stranger like, bro, you need a haircut. You need to get to lose some weight. I mean, seriously, get in shape, bro. And walk. Don't do that. But, man, in those friends that we have close to us, that we love and that we care about, we need to look for those blind spots, and we work together to call them out, to work on them, and to help them improve. That's important stuff. It's important stuff. I'll never forget, the second phase of this, I'm sorry. The worst one is some of us will see it. We won't say anything. Maybe you'll have a friend, none of us in here are like this, but you have a friend that just, they just cuss a lot. We'll just go with that. That's kind of original. They just cuss a lot. And so to your friend, you may walk up like, yeah, man, you're doing great. That's awesome. And then you walk away, though, to the other people, and you go, can you believe that he talks like that? What an idiot. He sounds so stupid. His vocabulary is like so small. I didn't even get it. All he does is cuss. So we live in this culture where we just want to say what makes people happy, right? We just want to say what they want to hear, and then we go tell everyone else the truth. I know none of us are like that in here, right, ever. We would never do that. But doesn't that happen? Proverbs 26, 5 through 6. Proverbs 26, 5 through 6 says, an open rebuke is better than hidden love. Wounds from a sincere friend are better than many kisses from an enemy. And what he's saying is, the enemy comes in and says, no, you're doing great, man. That looks great. Oh, your attitude's awesome. And then they walk away and go, you kidding me? Look at that joker. Honesty comes in and tells the truth. Says the truth. I'll never forget, I was going, a few years ago, right when I first started doing ministry, there was a guy that worked at the church with me, and I remember he had spoken in one of our little ministry gatherings, and when he was done, he came up to me. He was like, man, I just want to tell you, I really enjoyed that. You've got great people. That was really just one of the coolest experiences I've had. Thank you so much for letting me do that. And I remember like leaving that conversation going like, yeah, dude, this guy's awesome. Like we've been friends for a while. How cool, man. I was really pumped up, that I had the opportunity to share what was happening with somebody else. And then the next day, a really good friend of mine came up to me and said, hey, man, I don't know why I'm even telling this, but I just felt like I needed to. The guy, I won't say his name, but the guy that spoke last night, he came in today, and he he was kind of just saying that like he had a terrible experience, that he hated it, and he never wanted to come back. I was like, are you kidding me? Like he just told me the opposite. Like what? How does that even happen? Can I tell you something? That's a terrible way to be a friend. And some of you go, I would never do that. But you do, don't you? You do. Because I do it too. That's a terrible way to be a friend. What they really need is the truth. And so about a year ago, another guy, Chris, who I will say his name, he's here, Chris Hoff. He was listening to one of my messages, and he was like, man, I heard some things, and it's like, dude, it could have been better, man. It could have been better. And so he didn't proceed to just say, dude, that was terrible, figure it out. But he came in and said, hey, man, there's some things you could do better, but let me walk you through how we could do that. And he gave me some tangible advice. Can I tell you something? It is never fun to hear that you didn't do a good job at anything, is it? But it sure feels good when you can walk away and go, man, that guy or that girl loved me enough to speak truth to me and to make me a better person. Honesty is a huge factor in being a Jonathan. Number 4, sacrifice. Sacrifice. There's going to come a moment where Jonathan will stand before his dad, King Saul, and he's going to question his dad's motives to kill David. Verse 32, we can pick up and just read these two. It says, but why should he be put to death? This is Jonathan speaking. Jonathan asked his father, what has he done? Then Saul hurled his spear at Jonathan, his son, intending to kill him. So at last, Jonathan realized that his father was really determined to kill David. Jonathan was willing to lay down his life for David. Now, can I be honest with you? Most of us will not be called to physically lay down our life in comparison to death for a friend. You may, but most of us won't. But can I tell you something? You will sacrifice in a way to be that good friend that they need. And let me give you some ways. Number 1, you're going to have some tough conversations and awkward moments. We just talked about that. It is a sacrifice to walk into a friend and be truthful with them. It's a scary moment. It can be an awkward moment, but it's a sacrifice we make to be the kind of friend that's effective. Number 2, we're going to give up a sinful lifestyle because they deserve better. Some of you struggle with lying. Some of you are just selfish. I know that's a struggle of mine. We're just selfish. It's all about me. It's my time. I don't want to be with anybody. I just want to be alone. And you're going to have to give up those things. You're going to have to give up that lifestyle so that you can be the kind of friend that they need. You're going to have to be there in times when maybe you would rather be somewhere else. Have you ever had that? Let me tell you something. Friends don't ever need you in a moment when you're just sitting on the couch and it's convenient. It just doesn't work that way. But can I tell you something? A good friend doesn't even hesitate. And they will drop whatever it is they're doing to meet the need because they care that much. And the 4th one is you're going to sacrifice your time, you should, to study and pray so that you can be prepared for the dark moment. It is great to have a scripture in your hand, but it's even better to have the scripture on your heart. So when your friend goes through a dark time, you can walk in and say, hey, let's pray about this, but then let's look at some scripture, let's get some guidance, and let's move through this together. But it's going to take sacrifice on our part to take the time to study our word so that we can have those things ingrained in our heart. We will make sacrifices as friends. The last one is a good friend will make you better. Good friend will make you better. All through these chapters, we see Jonathan push David to be better. And I'm going to tell you this. A good community, a good group of people around you, a good community, they will move towards you in your moments of need. That's a good community. A great community, on top of that, you will leave better than when you came in. Think about that for a second. You will leave better than when you came in. I started working out a few months ago. Don't say anything, just chill. I started working out a few months ago, and I started working out with a friend of mine named Tyler Holmes. And he worked at the gym at the time, and he was kind of buff, not really, but whatever. Can't give me credit. And so he said, hey, man, why don't you come work out with me, and I'll kind of hold you accountable as we work out. And y'all know if you ever want to work out, you really need that, right? Because if you don't, you're going to not go. And so we just decided, hey, let's do this together. So we started waking up early, and we started working out. And I remember the first day, when I would normally work out, you work at your pace, right? All right, if you're a runner, you run at your pace. When you get tired, you slow down. When you feel good, you speed up. When you're lifting weights, right, you pump when you feel good. And then when you're ready to break, you take a break. You walk around, look good for the ladies, and you hit back and hit the weights. And so on your own, you just hit it totally differently. And so I remember walking in with him, and I'm thinking, I got this. I work out every once in a while. I'm kind of a buff dude. Chill. I'm kind of a buff dude, and I can make this happen. And so we start working out. And, man, about the second kind of exercise, I don't even know what he was doing to me. It was crazy. He was killing me. But this second one, I start going, and I don't know if it was the 5-hour energy I drank before. I'm not sure. But I started feeling just my heart like it was about to pump out of my chest. And I remember going, I haven't really felt this way since like high school. Like, this is kind of scary. And I didn't say anything because that's what guys do. We just keep it quiet. It's part of the problem while we're talking about this tonight. And so I'm just going, and we hit the third and the fourth exercise. And then there came a point where I was just like, okay, forget my heart. I am about to throw up everywhere. And what's crazy is in this moment, as he's doing everything with me, he's sweating, but he's not even like breathing. He's just like, yeah, dude, you all right, man? Come on. Like, do you want to slow down? I'm like, no, dude, let's keep going. I mean, I'm just dying. I'm dying. And so we hit the fifth of the sixth exercise. And I just looked at him, and I was like, man, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but I got to go throw up, man. And I'll be right back. And I literally went to the bathroom, and I threw up. And it wasn't a lot. It was just a little bit, but it's all good. So I went, and I came back, and I felt better, and we kept going. We finished off. But I remember just looking at him, and I was just like, he's not even moving. Like, it's just so graceful and so natural for him. And I'm looking at myself, and I go, I haven't felt this way, but I've been working out. I've been playing tennis, and I was playing basketball. I mean, I was doing things, but yet he killed me in a little tiny weight room. We didn't even run. And I go, how is this possible? And can I tell you how it's possible? It's because when we move in life together, we do things at our own pace. We do things at our own movement. And so when we get tired, we slow down. When we want to be lazy, guess what? We're going to be lazy because there's no one there to push us. Can I tell you something? When I left that gym, I was way better than when I came in. And when I came back the next time, I only felt like I was going to throw up. And I didn't actually throw up. And then can I tell you, yeah, that's great. You can clap for that. That's right. And then the third time, when I came in, I didn't throw up at all. Now, I was tired. I was exhausted. You can't tell him that. But I was tired. I was exhausted. But I made it. And then went through the fourth and went through the fifth. And you know what happened? I got better. I got better. Can I tell you something? A lot of us have friends, and some of us even have what we kind of think is a good friend. But the reality is, when you leave that friend, you should be better than when you came in. And can I tell you something? Your friends that have a relationship with you, whatever that looks like, when they're done, they should be better because of the experiences they had with you than they were when they came in. And that's tough, because it requires all of these things to come together. But that's what it should look like. What does an infectious friend look like? It's just the opposite. We pursue the world instead of God. We focus on themselves. They'll focus on themselves and others more than you. They lie or simply just won't tell you what you need to hear when you need to hear it. They'll bail out when they should be moving in, or they'll leave you worse than you were when you came in. That's what an infectious friend looks like. It's simply just the opposite. And you go, well, how do I find this? Hopefully you're asking that. How do I get this? This sounds good, Chad. I kind of want this. What do I do? And I'll just tell you two things. The first is you ask the Lord to bring this to you. First, you need to prayerfully examine the people that are around you. Some of you got some great ones. Some of you need to break up with some friends tonight. You ask the Lord to help you examine those relationships. Now listen, we're going to talk about this in the weeks to come. This doesn't mean that you can't be friends with people that don't push you, okay? But the people that are your Jonathans, girls, the ones that you let in close, they should have these qualities, and you should have these qualities for them. And so you ask the Lord to help you examine. And then if you examine and you realize, hey, I don't have this, you ask the Lord to open your eyes to see people in a new and refreshing way. I remember Frank is one of my best friends. And when I met Frank, I would have never thought we would become friends. He was married. I wasn't. I was single. He had a full-time job. He was like part owner of this incredible company. And I was just like, wow, I'm kind of intimidated. Like, this is crazy. And we knew each other for a while and for a while and for a while. And then after time, the Lord opened up a door and we began to serve together. And that serving became into a friendship. And now it's a friendship that I wouldn't change for anything. And can I tell you something? The Lord has to open our eyes, because you can do it in your own life. Examine the true friends that you have. When you met them, you didn't think you'd be friends for the most part, huh? Some of you were enemies before you became actual friends. We have to ask the Lord to help us open our eyes so that we can see the true ones in a new way. And then the second thing is you just make sure you're pursuing God. We talked about this in dating. When we are pursuing God, as we're running toward him, as we're living a life that's chasing after him, you'll look left, you'll look right, and you will realize, hey, this guy or this girl that I'm running with, they're pursuing the same thing. Like Jonathan did when he saw David, that guy, he's pursuing God. That's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of guy, that's the kind of girl that I need to live my life with. Guys, your Jonathan needs to be a guy. Girls, yours needs to be a girl. Okay? It's okay to be friends with the opposite sex. That's great. But this kind of relationship is between the same sex. Okay? It's very important when we get to accountability, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The last thing I want to say is there is a joy in all of this. There's a lot of hard things and a lot of accountability and a lot of things that come with this, but there is a joy that is unsurpassable through all of this. Back to Tyler. I met Tyler about a year ago, and he graduated tech, and I'll just be honest, I don't think he's here. I can't really tell. He may be here, but he graduated tech, and he was this like little lost puppy, if I could just be honest. He was just like kind of, if you know him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's why you're laughing, sorry. But he was just kind of wandering around. He was just he was a sweet guy, man, but he was just lost, and he was trying to find a career, and he didn't know what he was doing, and he graduated. He's one of those guys like some of us here, and you graduate, and you're just like, what was it for? I can't find a job. This is crazy. And he was just roaming around, and so we came across paths, and just got to know him and became friends with him. We started to serve together. He's a big part of What Now. For those of y'all that were there tonight, he was the one that helped me launch it last year. And then he helped us launch BSM. And so he started serving with us, and he just came on fire. And he started to mold into this man. And I'm just watching this like, this is crazy, man. How wild. Look what he's becoming. And yesterday, he accepted a job offer at our Woodway campus as a full-time minister. And I remember it was probably one of the proudest days of my ministry life to watch him have come in and to have grown up, not just from a child, but into this man of God. It was amazing. And so yesterday when he started his first day, I was sitting in my office and I was just thinking, this is probably one of the coolest moments in ministry that I've ever experienced. To watch a man, a lost puppy in a way, grow into a man. And he didn't do that because of me, but I got the joy to be a part of it. There is a joy about being a loyal, faithful friend to those around you. Your trajectory is either affected or infected by the people you allow to be around you. Hold on to that tonight. You need friends. Be the kind of friend that they need, and you'll find the kind of friend that you need.